Anyway, wild beast animals have been seen roaming the countryside. No, it's nothing to do with the election. That is over. These have been wild cat type creatures apparently, and police are on the hunt. Local representative Jim Wells is here with more. This sounds very scary indeed.
Well, the police are taking it seriously. They've issued it on warning on their website, and local farmers are being told to look after their livestock. So this is a serious issue, and okay, it's in the overall scheme of things, it's not a particularly big matter, but I think if you're a sheep farmer in the Mournes, you would be concerned this afternoon.
Where were these animals apparently spotted?
A beauty spot known as Bloody Bridge, which is between Newcastle and Annalong, very popular tourist.
No, well, it's the walk up with the boulders and the stream up into the Mournes.
It's an unlikely place, I would have thought, for puma-type animals to live, but they could have been simply let out by some person who simply they got too much from.
We have had these cases before and dragged on for weeks with various hunts, and then we haven't found anything. But do you think these are pretty well identified sightings?
I think both in this case and the famous Armoy one in North Antrim, the police waited until they had pretty strong evidence before they went public on it. And I think the fact it's on their website this morning and they're advising people to be careful indicates to me that they think it's authentic. I would call upon those who see these animals to report them immediately so they can be caught. Because it is a concern to livestock farmers in the area.
Do we know who spotted them?
Two local walkers spotted them and reported them to the PSNI.
Well, you know the area very well, of course. Would farmers be likely to take matters into their own hands in terms of trying to capture these animals?
I'm sure they will, though perhaps that's not the wisest thing to do, is to let the wildlife officers of the PSNI to take control of the situation. But it's entirely a sheep farming area, so they've every right to be concerned. And the lesson we learned from Armoy was that these wild animals do kill sheep. And I mean, there's an economic impact here in a hard-pressed industry. So the sooner these animals are caught and returned to the zoo or wherever, the better. You of course take a big interest in environmental matters and indeed animal welfare. We've seen Northern Ireland trying to catch up with the rest of the UK in terms of legislation to do with dangerous animals and so on. Where are we on that at the moment? Well, the legislation's been introduced and is now effective. And it basically means that only licensed establishments like the zoo can keep these animals. I think that's absolutely right, both in terms of welfare for the animals, because the conditions that have previously been kept in were totally inadequate, but also as a result of concerns about public safety. And I really have to ask why anyone in Northern Ireland outside the zoo would want to keep a wild puma-type animal, because I mean it can't be good for the animal and certainly isn't safe to other land users.
In this weather, of course, we're also talking about a lot of tourists. I mean, there'd be a lot of hill walkers when the weather gets better going up in Bloody Bridge, and I certainly would think twice about taking my children up there if I thought there was two very large pumas waiting for us.
I think the puma's more likely to be scared of a BBC reporter than they would be a you of them. I mean,
Jim,
what I would say is that no, there's no evidence these animals attack human beings. They're no real danger in their wild habitat to humans. They run a mile. But, you know, if a farmer starts to lose a lot of sheep because of that, then it starts to have an impact. And of course, he can't insure against it. And the industry's going through a very difficult period, and I think we need to capture these animals and get them back to where they should have been long ago. Also, I'd condemn the person who clearly broke the legislation to have these in the first place. OK, just one final question. There's talk of a reshuffle in the DUP ranks. What about Jim Wells for the environment portfolio? I think £50 to your favourite charity, if that happens, Jim. I think highly unlikely. I think there are people much better qualified than I am.
The Greens had a 2% rise in the election. Jim, you're not thinking of defecting?
It was a 2 percentage point rise, which is actually even better showing. But remember, we're talking about, what was it, 15,000 votes. It wasn't a huge...
well, they did claim, apparently, that a lot of their votes then went to the DUP. You know, perhaps that was the Jim Wells contingent.
I'll have to analyse that would probably be my 6 votes. You know, I'll have to analyse the results to see where the Greens transfers were, but they were very small in the overall scheme of things.
OK, Jim Wells, many thanks indeed.